1 year ago today, I meditated because I wanted to kill myself. It's a certain level of pain where you can only bear so much to the point where you need to try something new. As a college student, I was walking to class every day dealing with so much emotional pain, and I thought that there had to be something. Just something to get rid of it all. Of course, I also had social anxiety that made life most difficult with my relationships throughout all of my teenage years, even going back to when I was, say, 11 years old. I meditated a great deal before, but never too deeply. There was something about sitting down and breathing peacefully for a few minutes that made me think in those moments that this could be something. To think that there are people who solve their lifelong issues from meditation and not years of medication or therapy was astounding to see from the outside. So I made it my goal every day to practice, to research, and to learn about myself and meditation to save me from the social anxiety, low self-esteem, and overthinking that caused me so much pain for so long. And to an extent, I did it, but there was way more to it than that. This is what happened. Do you remember The Last Airbender? I think this show was most people in this generation's introduction to Eastern philosophies, one of which being meditation, of course. I recently started reading the comic that comes after the end of the show, and for another instance, I saw Aang meditating and talking to Avatar Roku in the spirit world. When I saw that, I remembered all the instances of Aang doing this in the show. It made me think about how meditation actually is. Because obviously that's not at all what it's like, but it's a metaphor for going within yourself to be honest, open, accepting, and curious about who you really are. That's what happened as I did this every single day over the course of this past year. There's a lot that goes into my practice that you can check out in my tutorial that I posted a while back, so I won't detail the specifics of what I did here, but to sum it up, every day I sat down and repeated the cycle of focusing on the breath, forgetting and coming back. I started to forget about my breath less and less, and the time I spent on focusing on the breath and not wandering to some random thought increased. Even more amazing, as I did it every morning and got back to living regular life, this mode bled into that, which is what we call mindfulness. To understand what I mean, it's important to remember that science has showed us that 95% of brain activity is subconscious. And as I meditated, that percentage felt as if it went down. I was actually mindful of what I was doing in real life. I wasn't on some autopilot mode where I was doing every action habitually. It was like I was taking off this lens of delusion that clouded my judgment for my entire life, and it opened the door to unique discoveries when the mindfulness I had intersected with the negative emotions that I was feeling, and this is where the real work began. For the first few weeks, it took an adjustment to understand what I was supposed to be doing. There were a few growing pains, and as I became more aware in my daily life, my main issue was being mindful of what I was experiencing and really struggling to come to terms with it. I would wake up sometimes with super negative thoughts swirling, and while I was aware, I was still causing myself suffering. One of the first insights I ever had was understanding that a thought is negative or positive. And positive, say we relish in that, but if it's negative, it's something that we resist and that we don't want. There are no good or bad thoughts, and that you can't get rid of any. I said this back in the 100 days video, and it rings true so incredibly much. It's a matter of letting go and not struggling to fight what's going on in your head. Not feeding it. My relationship with myself blossomed as it became clearer to me, and as this happened, I started to watch emotions come up, not only with awareness, but with curiosity about them and trying to understand them, which are important factors of mindfulness. Why did I argue? Why did I get nervous talking to this person? Why am I sad? It wasn't easy, and I struggled a lot with what was going on inside, and this is where the real purging began.
Let the pain flow away. Very good.
Can I have some onion banana juice, please?
The best way to describe it was when Aang was opening his chakras, letting his pain flow away. It was me widening the gap of awareness to the point where what I was feeling deep down inside had enough wiggle room to come and peek out. In the numerous times this happened, it was scary, but in the endgame it was purifying. This ranged from repressed self-hatred, fears, resentments. In most instances, it would cause tears to well up. For me, these moments taught me to accept and to learn about your emotions, to become the most sound and whole version of yourself, not bound down by the shackles of bad habits. I accepted this, and the real change started to occur not only in the way I viewed myself, but the world.
You are concerned for your survival, but you must surrender those fears. Let your fears flow down the creek.
My entire perception of human life changed. I became more understanding of why people do the things they do. Why do people post on social media? Why do people get angry and fight about opinions? Why do people act the way they do? I paid most attention to this during the BLM era of 2020, as that was when these insights were becoming more set in stone with my personality. This time was a true testament to tribalism and ego taking full center stage. This sense of empathy helps me be more forgiving of others' actions, because I realized that it's not their choice, for it's habit clouded by delusion, and that gap of awareness is not big enough for most people. We are all in a way deluded with rigid POVs that are extremely hard to break out of. The delusion is why we suffer needlessly. I went on with different practices and methods, from Headspace to the Mind Illuminated to now MIDL. I often wrote in my journal after I finished my sessions for the day to express insights that I learned about myself and life. I would take a lot of time out of my day after I was making breakfast, for example, to just sit back and listen to teachers talk about meditation and study the art of living. I listened to people like Eckhart Tolle, to many Buddhist monks out there. I wanted to take from many people so that I can build my own path to where I wanted to go. And there were no less hardships this year than any other, but for the first time, I had a support system grounded within myself. I had a way to deal with depression, anxiety, and fear. I was safe. I was for the first time living happy for more than I ever have in my entire life. With forgiveness, concentration, and understanding of mistakes I was making, correcting them for the first time. It was amazing. However, I need to make it clear that this isn't about chasing happiness, and that became evident as I progressed along the year and dealt with new challenges that showed me that I really didn't know anything. I had many roadblocks where I wouldn't progress with my practice at all, and some events occurred in my life, tested the progress that I made along the path. In the beginning of this video, I said that I did all of this to start saving myself from the pain I felt. The thing is, the only way to do this is to embrace the pain and not run away from it. I had a few months of fun times during the summer, and that was a high point in my life, but I was still not grasping the acceptance of my emotions fully, simply due to the fact that life was really good and the circumstances were in line with what I wanted. I suffered because I tried to make things different than how they really were. An equanimous mind is not dependent on conditions, but independent. It was all part of the process in realizing, but something I wish I knew back then was to just listen to my gut. It was only a month or two ago when I understood that we truly are our best teachers. Roku talking to Aang is the perfect metaphor for this. Deep down, we know what to do, but we ignore what the delusion we face in our lives. Sometimes it takes acting like Yoda and meditating on your feelings to figure out the best course of action. One thing in my gut that still rings true is letting go of attachments.
Let's do this.
The thought chakra is located at the crown of the head. It deals with pure cosmic energy and is blocked by earthly attachment. Meditate on what attaches you to this world.
The Buddha said, the root of suffering is attachment. We're attached to our bodies and appearance, the clothes we wear, our work, our validation, romantic partners, our cars, our grades, and I had many instances of having to choose between the short-term pleasure that I was attached to and what was truly best for me. I failed a lot, and I still do right now. Know that these things I'm telling you are meant to be experienced through meditation. I'm making this video to help any of you who are curious about meditation and want to improve your lives so that you get this motivation to start doing it. My life was forever changed with meditation, and it has been the greatest gift of my life. And the gift itself has been the door to a path to learn and figure out what this life is all about, and maybe even eventually enlightenment. But I'm not there yet. I'm on the path right now. And what matters is that I continue to practice what works for me and the journey to the answers I seek. It's a lifelong endeavor, and I'm not gonna stop ever.